Subaru is overheating. I got help from Joe over at Goodspeed Performance. Those guys are awesome there. They take care of me. I highly recommend them if you guys are in the Phoenix area and need help with your car. Joe advised me on some diagnosing and some things to change to help deal with this overheating issue. So if you guys need help, make sure you check them out. I appreciate their time and Joe talking to me and walking me through all this. Let's get into how to diagnose this. Welcome to the first official CarmaSpeed merch room, laboratory, whatever you want to call it. We have some new additions going on. We have a lot of empty boxes because we have a lot of new products coming out, and I'm pumped because we just got some in. Let me show you real quick. Let's start from the top. We've got a baseball tee, CarmaSpeed 100. This is for all the people who are here for right around over 100K. Big milestone. We'll be sticking with those numbers for that reason. Now, on to my favorite design for this one. What goes around comes around. We've got our wheel, like our Cosmos wheel on the Subaru. We have this in black. We have CarmaSpeed established 2019. And then on the front, we have a what goes around comes around type of design on the front. We have this option in blue as well. I actually like the blue a lot, but there's a super limited of these. I know most of you guys would like the black. I'm gonna be rocking both. And then I put a lot of thought into this. I thought this was rad. This kind of reminds me of my childhood. This is a guy fishing. He's got a CarmaSpeed hat on, no remorse pond, because when we look at the design, fishing for car parts, he's got a big catch, and we have no buyer's remorse because we have fun building our cars. And on the front, we've got a lure style design that came out super rad. June 10th, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You better be there at carmaspeed.com. I can't wait for you guys to have some of this. Welcome to the CarmaSpeed Garage. Today we're doing a little diagnosing and figuring out why the STI is overheating. It is 111 degrees yesterday in Phoenix, and I haven't driven the car in the hot weather yet. As far as the tune and everything like that, running on ethanol, we couldn't be better. But yesterday the car did start to overheat when I was rolling around slow in a parking lot. And I think a lot of it has to do with the airflow not being as efficient with the big front mount intercooler that we installed during the winter. So I'm a little bit worried about that. We might need to upgrade the radiator, but we need to figure out why is it overheating. Is it a bad thermostat? Is it bad radiator caps? I bought those from Subaru today, so we are going to test that, but we are going to start with the radiator caps. I need to get the Impreza out of the way. That way we can move the STI and get things situated to diagnose this, because it did climb all the way to 232 degrees yesterday, and then I literally shut the car off and waited for it to cool down, and I was really bummed. So I'm not gonna panic, but I'm a little concerned because overheating can cause head gasket failure, which then continues to burn coolant, and you're in a world of hurt, and we don't want to go down that route with the motor that we just started to enjoy. Before we move this out of the way, if you look on the VIN right here, it says GM, not GC. I am aware that the two-door cars are GMs, so and the four doors are GCs, and we call this thing a GC8. I was doing that mainly for internet reasons. I don't know if I should continue to call it that, but it's technically a GM, and I'm aware. Nothing's changed on this. I've been out of town. We got the new hats on for the CarmaSpeed drop on June 10th. If that goes well, I'll be able to quickly order the whole entire WRC style wide body kit for it. So don't miss June 10th, 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. These new hats are one of the items coming up. The car's been sitting for a few hours. All this mess is from me messing around trying to make sure it's full and burp the system. This is a new thermostat from the dealer, as well as radiator caps. Sometimes the seal goes bad on it in here or right here. That can cause problems. And these have, I think they're like 16 pounds. That's how much pressure it takes to push up on this valve, which then lets water flow. So if you have a lack of flow, this thing is seized up, or the seal isn't right and it's leaking water or coolant, that can cause problems. So that's why we want to change these out. These do have a function and are very important. up, see what it does with those caps. Letting her warm up. I'm gonna click the AC on to speed up the process. It's at 158. 108 degrees outside. I want to make sure that both fans are running. Check. Drop down to 181 a little bit. I'm gonna let it idle for another 10-15 minutes, see what it gets up to, and then if it seems okay, we'll take it for a drive and put it to the real test and see if it starts climbing. Before we move on to installing the thermostat and just assuming that that is the problem, I want to see if these caps have made a difference. I'm looking at the old caps. It definitely looks a little worn, but nothing's torn or bad, it seems like. Definitely not near as smooth as the new ones, of course, but I'm not sure. Back up into the sun. Let the car sit outside. It is hotter out here, like as if it would be sitting at a light. 192. It's been about 8-10 minutes of sitting. Let's go cruising around the block. This is my first time ever diagnosing having like a heating issue with the car outside of my 350Z. That just had air in the radiator. I just had to burp it, and it was perfect. It never budged. But this car has been the first. Taking off down the street. We're almost at 200 degrees. Not even on the gas. This is an awesome tool. We'll show later in the video how it works. But there's a link in the description, and this will save you some time and mess. Driver front tire. Here's our thermostat housing right there. The coolant line here. But we're gonna go over here. Get our drain pan. And right here looks like a port to drain the coolant. Once you take the caps off, we have a much better flow. Most of the coolant is coming out. That's a good start. The next step before we get into the housing for the thermostat, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this hose right here. Uh-oh. Yep, we have a big mess. Big mess. Big mess. Both bolts are off. Clean inside there, that's a good sign. Let's pull our thermostat. Oh yeah. Coolant down the armpit. You might not have noticed, but the way it sits in the housing, this little guy right here needs to be straight up, like so, when we put the new one in. While my hands are dirty, the sun's going down, gonna go ahead and slap the new one in. Not even gonna worry about cleaning up. The other one looked new because Cody might have replaced it when we rebuilt the motor recently. So I have a feeling this isn't gonna be our problem, but let's hope it is. Fits nice and snug. Thermostat housing in, both bolts are tight. We've got a radiator hose. Now I just need to put in our radiator plug. Gonna go grab coolant from O'Reilly's and I'll be right back. Amazon funnel, they have a little fitting that fits perfect. The first thing we need to do is fill up the radiator core with antifreeze. It's super important that you use the blue kind of coolant. This is for Asian vehicles, Honda, Hyundai, Nissan, Subaru. They have a more sensitive radiator to minerals and such, so make sure you use this kind. The cool thing about this funnel, feature number one, is you can plug it, lift it out, and there's not much of a mess. That's obviously slightly overfilled. Then we can take our remaining, go to this guy. I took off the attachment and it still hasn't spilled. Slide the green through first. Let's put it on. That twists on as snug as the OEM. Then I can pull this plug and it's gonna drain as much in there as I can. Air's gonna come out right away, but this is when we're gonna need to let the car idle with the heater on. With this exposed, air should be coming out of this now very slowly. We're at 165 degrees. It's not really hot air quite yet. It's getting there. That temperature's got to be up before hot air will come out. That's some air coming out now at about 172, 175. When that Subaru oil is still full after 2,000 miles. Taking off from the house, no AC on, no boost, cruising about 23, it's up to 196. First light, AC is on full blast. It just dropped 1 degree. It's a good sign. It's the next day. It's 102 degrees outside today. Let's pull it out in the sun, let her idle for a while, and see what that temp gets up to. Another 5 minutes later, we're at 183. It's gone down. Need to go for a ride and see what really happens when we build up some heat. After about 20 miles, I let the car get up to temp. Any sort of heat soaking, anything like that, I wanted to make sure that was happening before I thought about some final numbers. With the AC on, about 90% all the way full on, the car was working pretty hard. It would maintain about 205 to 208 sitting at stoplights in the heat, and it was about 105 degrees out. And then on the freeway going about 80 miles an hour at 3,000 RPM, it would hover between 214 and 217. Now as long as we're under 220, it's technically safe, but you want to keep it as low as possible. It is really, really hot in Arizona, and I don't like to do that to my car. I almost feel guilty, and it should maintain around 210 or lower. In a perfect world, you're talking about 180 to 200 and keeping the coolant temp at that. To my knowledge, I will be proceeding with getting a radiator for this car, and then from there seeing what kind of changes it makes. So I will keep you guys posted on that for this type of car if you end up building your motor, have anything going on and live in Arizona. And it's mainly because of the lack of airflow. Why it's so hot is because of the parent front mount intercooler, which is great. I have more consistent dam, I have more consistent timing and all of that because our charged air intake temperatures are lower. But during the summer and extreme heat areas of the desert that I live in, it's not exactly ideal for our coolant temps now. Let's find out what that radiator does in the future here soon. And then from there, I'm potentially thinking about getting the Mishimoto race fans or the upgraded fans. I had them on my 350Z and I honestly loved how they sounded, which is stupid to say, but it sounded freaking rad. Those things would kick on super loud. You know they're working real hard. But I understand, I was reading online, that is not usually necessary. You want to just go with the radiator. So we'll see. Let me know if you guys are running the Mishimoto fans in the comments. Let me know if you guys have had better luck with a CSF or Koyo-Rad radiator with your Subaru in the summer. I'd love to hear about it. I appreciate you guys' input. Don't forget about the drop on June 10th. We have the new camo hats. We have some t-shirts being made as we speak. Everything is kind of behind with everything going on in the world. But I promise you on June 10th, we have some rad products. I'm excited for you guys to see. KarmaSpeed.com. If you guys like building comments in the garage, that's the best way to support it, is for the next merch drop. So, thank you guys so much for stopping by. Hope you guys are having fun with your Subarus like I am. Take care.
I love you like